Hello everyone, my name is Eliangel.
And my name is Roy Hernandez.
Today we are going to talk about language variation in this video. The specific variation that we are going to talk about is the Trinidadian Creole English. But first, before knowing about language variation, we have to know that the field of study that studies language variation and some other social factors is sociolinguistics. Sociolinguistics is a field of linguistics that studies all the social factors that influence languages. You already know that there are many different languages around the world, and also many variations of those languages. And also, we have to know that there are some social factors that influence the way we speak every day. For example, factors such as ethnicity, geographical origins, age, gender, are some of the factors that affect the way we speak. We can differ a child's speech from an adult speech. We can see differences in the way women speak and men speak. So there are many things that influences languages, and those things come from society. So there is a relation between society and language. And also, those social factors influence language, but also people is influenced by language too. When we talk about Creole, we first, we first have to know that Creole comes from pidgins. Pidgin can be defined as a contact language. It's a variation of language that arose from different languages. I mean, we can say that pidgin is a mixture of two or more languages. As it's a mixture of two or more languages, there will always be a language that will be more dominant than the others. So that dominant language will be like a base from the new variation that will be called pidgin. I mean, the pidgin have no native speakers because it appeared as a contact language. So when different people travel from different places of the world, they are in the same place but they don't share the same language, they have to find a way to connect, to speak between them. So they use, let's suppose, English as the base for their new variation. They take English to take the vocabulary from English and all those things. But they don't use the English in a complete way. They use reduced grammar and vocabulary. They use the English in a simplified way. They take some aspect of English or the language that is more dominant. When we say that a variation of language is a Creole, we have to know that Creole is when a second generation that speak Pidgin started to speak Creole. So when a Pidgin becomes a Creole, we have to know that our that generation that grow up speaking the Pidgin that start to speak Creole. So native speakers exist in difference to Pidgins that have no native speakers. So it's also a mixture from the languages. In this research, we have taken into consideration the Trinidadian English Creole. However, as it was difficult to go to the place and to observe how this Creole was spoken there, we took some examples found in literature, and we can see through those examples how they use that Creole. It would have been amazing to go there and to see how they communicate in their everyday lives. However, in the short stories that we have chosen, it is possible to see some situations where this variation of language takes place. Uh, the author that we chose is named B.S. Paul. He was born in Trinidad, and he has written about over 30 books. So the book that we chose is called Miguel Street, and it is a perfect demonstration of the Trinidadian English Creole. We can see many examples here. And we have chosen three short stories from the book.
The thing without a name, the maternal instinct, and how I left Miguel Street. These are three short stories found in this short story collection named Miguel Street by B.S. Naipaul. So before getting more into the characteristics of this Creole, we have to learn a little bit about the history of Trinidad and Tobago. As my cousin here, Eliangel, was saying, Creole languages come from pidgins that are born because of a contact of two different communities that speak different languages. So they need to find a new way to communicate. In the case of Trinidad and Tobago, it was discovered by Cristobal Colon, and therefore it was a Spanish colony. So when they were under the rule of Spain, they received a lot of European, Spanish coloners who mixed with the native people of the island, and they also started to receive a lot of French people that wanted to open colonies there. To start businesses like plantations and such. So when the places where these French people arrived, they started to develop also a French Creole, and they influenced I mean, the French language influences with Spanish and the native language spoken by the people there. And they also brought slaves from different parts of the world, like Africa. So they had these mixtures of languages to create a new Creole. But later they would be taken by the British Empire. The United Kingdom took Trinidad from Spain, and they settled there, English people. So now English was another language that would influence this island, right? So the result was a new language, a new variation of English, now known as Trinidadian English Creole. And it has influence from the English language, from Spanish, from French, and the French Creole that was originated between the French people and the other speakers. It also has influence of African languages and also Asian languages such as Chinese and Hindi, because when the British Empire took the island, they 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 brought different workers to make labor, to do the labor, such as Hindu people and Chinese people. In fact, the author of the short story we select has in Hindu descendant, right? Yeah. So this is more or less the historic and social situation that developed the Trinidadian English Creole. Even though English is the official language of the island, we haven't talked about Tobago because in the Tobago Island, they speak a different Creole. The English, the Tobagan English Creole, but this one is different. It has difference because it has other influences more in African languages, and it's more similar to the Jamaican Creole, for example. So it's not the same as the Trinidadian Creole. Even though in the two islands English, they have a standard English version, the standard English, the Trinidadian standard English, which is spoken in formal situations, such as in education, the social media, politics, etc. But in the everyday life, they speak the Trinidadian English Creole mostly, even though it's a little, I mean, it's kind of marginalized because through history, Creole language have been seen as less than the standard languages. But it is the most spoken version, the Trinidadian English Creole. For this reason, we decided to take into account this variation of language and make a comparison between the standard version and the Trinidadian English Creole, but in a descriptive way more than in a prescriptive way. So, for example, we can see from the stories we chose, we can see these examples. We have divided them into verbal tenses. We have chosen simple present first, right? For example, in Trinidadian English Creole, we have how Laura does live. This sentence would be how does Laura live in the standard English version, right? And we have another one here, for example. She have a lot of friends who does sell in the market. They does give she they does give she things free, and sometimes one or two or three of she husbands does give she something too, but that not too much. That not much. This version in the English standard would be she has a lot of friends who sell at the market. They give her things for free, and sometimes one, two, or three of her husbands give her something too, but not that much. So in this case, we can see that the presence, I mean, the auxiliary verb does is positioned differently in each version, right? The Trinidadian English Creole uses this auxiliary after the subject, while in the standard English version, they use the auxiliary before the subject. And in the second example, we can see that it has, I mean, in the Trinidadian English Creole, the third person singular she uses the verb have, while in the standard version, they use has. And they keep using in the Trinidadian English Creole the auxiliary does, when in the standard version it is unnecessary in this context. Then we have the present continuous tense.
Okay. In Trinidadian English Creole, we can see the example, but what is this I see? And in the standard English, it is, but what is this I am seeing? The other example here is I think he lying like hell, you know? I think he's lying like hell, you know? And the third example, you can see you getting too wild. In the third, you are getting too wild. The final here are the absence of the verb to be. We see in the Trinidadian English Creole, they don't use the verb to be as an auxiliary in the sentence. That is the common way we use in standard English. So that is one thing that differs in the present continuous between the two languages.
Yes. Now we have the simple past. In this case, the Trinidadian English Creole example says, we was wrong about Popo. Meanwhile, the standard English is we were wrong about Popo. So we can see the use of the past form of the verb to be. In the first one, the plural subject, a plural pronoun uses was, while in the standard version, the plural pronoun goes with were. A second example, we can see that it says, why he had to sell what he fished. While in the standard English version, we have, why did he have to sell what he stole? Here we have two things. First, um, there is no use of the auxiliary verb did in the English Creole, right? In the Trinidadian Creole. So, and second, they use the noun thief as a verb, to thief, instead of to steal, right? So this is a very interesting characteristic of this Creole. And finally, we have the government gave me a scholarship to study drugs. And the standard version would be the government gave me a scholarship to study drugs. So we can see that in the Creole version, there is no a past form of the verb to give. It just, I mean, as a context, we understand that it took place in the past. While in the standard version, we can see the past form of the verb to give as gave to denote a past tense.
In the simple future, we can see in the Trinidadian English Creole, the first example, all right, I go study drugs. In the standard English, there is, all right, I will study drugs. In the second one, no, not Venezuela, somewhere else. Because the moment you land in Venezuela, they go through in jail. No, not Venezuela, somewhere else. Because the moment you land in Venezuela, they will throw you in jail. The third one, I go and talk to Ganesh Pandit about it. The standard version is I will go and talk to Ganesh Pandit about it. As we can say here, and we can see here, we can see the accent of the word will as an auxiliary in the sentence.
To indicate future tense.
To indicate the future tense. So that is the common way we use in standard English. But as they use a simplified way of the standard form, they don't use it. They use the verb without the will. That indicates the simple
Yeah,
future.
in this case, they don't use the auxiliary will, but the word go to indicate future tense. That's why we see in the third example, go twice. I go and talk to Ganesh Pandit about it. I mean, the first go is to indicate future tense, and the second one is the verb itself.
Yes.
So this is how they indicate future tense.
And how they replace the word will.
Yeah. So we can see the differences between these two linguistic variations, the Trinidadian English Creole and the English Standard, right? But the objective of this analysis is not to criticize the Creole. In fact, it's the opposite. We want just to describe how it is used in a comparison with the standard version. But we have to respect it as a language itself. It doesn't mean that it is wrong. No, it's just the way it is used, the way it is presented by its speakers. It's different from the standard version, but that doesn't mean it is wrong. It still accomplishes the communication process.
Yes, and it is also interesting to see how they adapt those that the way of communicating from the standard one. So as we say, we all the version of English or all the version of languages are important because they have passed through different processes and there has been a process of why they adapt this. So the process of colonization and all the things that we already know.
Yeah, and as I already mentioned before, usually Creole languages are poorly seen by society and by linguists, but that's something that has been changing recently because they have been studied and regarded as another language variation by themselves, and they have they are the Trinidadian English Creole and the Tobaganian English Creole are known as national languages in the island, and they are usually used by people there as the main mean of communication. So we need to respect that because it's a part of their culture, their lives. So imagine that someone thinks that the way you speak is wrong, the way you live your life, your lifestyle is wrong. no, we have to respect these linguistic variations and understand and I mean try to see why they are like that. I mean, there is a whole process of, I mean, a historic, economic, social, political process that, I mean, took place for this Creole to be born, you know? So it's important to acknowledge this and to be aware of the differences.
Yeah, to finish, it's important to see this, and we as an English or future English teachers should know all those differences because we have to be aware of the different cultures that are around the world, and we have to know that related with culture are languages. So languages define the way we are, and languages identify people, identify the culture, the way of thinking, and it is important to see that the thing that they have adapted or they have acquired that version of English or it has passed through a process that holds all the things that they know.
Okay,
Well,
so thank you very much for seeing this video and listening to us. We hope that you have learned something by watching this video. And if you have any question, then so make a comment.
okay. Thank you. We hope it will be helpful for someone. And yes, if you have questions, write down your comments. And if you have something else to add, you can also write it down.
Yes.
Thank you for watching the video.
See you.
See you later.